All right, folks, welcome back. Of course, the election next Tuesday. And the question has to be asked, what about voter fraud? Now, we know that lawyers from both sides are always at the polls, always at key polling places. And, you know, if you listen to Al Sharpton, there is no voter fraud in this country. If you listen to the president, if you listen to the Democrats, any attempt at voter ID is racist and an attempt to squelch the black and minority vote. There is no problem in this country, and that is absolutely untrue. Joining us now is Dr. Jesse Richman, Associate Professor of Political Science and Geography and Faculty Director of the Social Science Research Center at Old Dominion University and the lead author of a study, Do Non-Citizens Vote in U.S. Elections? Hello, Doctor.
Hello.
Well, the short answer is yes, right?
Yeah, that's the short answer. We used data from 2 years of the Cooperative Congressional Election Study, looking at the subsample of non-citizens, and we did some reweighting on that data to adjust for racial characteristics in some of the analyses. No matter how you cut it, there are some non-citizens who are registered, and there's some non-citizens who say they voted. There's some non-citizens for whom their votes have been validated by Catalyst, a firm that worked with the Cooperative Congressional Election Study to validate registration status and voting. So it seems pretty clear that there are some non-citizens, and furthermore, the number of non-citizens who say they've voted, number who have validated votes, it seems quite plausible that a few close election races in the last few years have been swayed by the votes of non-citizens.
For instance, do you have any of those specific races that have already taken place and have been decided, such as?
Yeah, so for instance, the race that Franken won in 2008, narrowly edging Coleman, a 300-plus vote margin, so long as about 0.65% of non-citizens in the state voted, that would have been sufficient given the ratio with which they were supporting Republicans and Democrats nationwide. That would have been sufficient to account for the victory. And that's an important race because that gave Democrats a 60th vote in the Senate. And that was important for advancing Obama administration priorities in the first 2 years of his term.
Oh, absolutely. And we have so many races that at this point, with the election just days away, are neck and neck. And are there certain states that stick out in your mind where you fear that the same thing could happen this time around?
Well, we'll see. It has to be really, really close for non-citizen votes to make a difference. And the odds are a bit lower this cycle than they would be in a presidential election year because it appears that turnout by non-citizens is quite sensitive to the presidential versus midterm cycle, at least judging from the data we have from 2008 and 2010. And some of people critiquing the study have done some additional analyses with data that weren't available when we did our analyses from the 2012 congressional election study, and it appears that there was relatively high turnout once again in the presidential cycle.
Now, very interesting.
So that helps a little bit.
Very interesting. We have a minute and a half left. You say that voter ID doesn't necessarily stop these non-citizens from voting, correct?
Yeah, if you believe what they're telling us, quite a substantial portion of the non-citizens who said they were asked for photo identification at the polls say they subsequently went on to vote. Now, that could be that they were asked for photo identification, but other identification was acceptable, but it could also well be that they were asked for photo identification and they supplied it because quite a few states allow legal residents to obtain driver's licenses, other kinds of photo identification that would be valid.
Right.
Photo identification may well be available to non-citizens, and there's some states even that provide some form of photo identification driver's license to some undocumented.
Doctor, do you trust the integrity of our electoral system?
On the whole, I think the electoral system has integrity. However, there's an error rate. There's a degree of fraud, and if the election's close enough, that can make a difference. That can change the outcome of the race.
Yeah. All right, Doctor, fascinating research. Thank you for sharing it with us, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, Dr. Jesse Richman, ladies and gentlemen. This is scary. It's really scary to think that the integrity of our elections can be compromised in this manner. It's really frightening. We'll be back with more of the show right after this.